Hello and welcome back. I'm just talking about the configurations of self, and that's a bit of a mouthful, but it's also theory as well, and it's coming from person-centered therapy, which is the therapy I practice, and was created by Carl Rogers. And then Dave Mearns, a psychologist, basically expanded on it and shared. So if you're interested in looking into it, you can Google people like Carl Rogers, look at Dave Mearns. Also, Richard Schwartz wrote a fantastic book, No Bad Parts, which addresses the selves in us. And this basically, if you can suspend your disbelief for a second and just think about this. You're driving down the road, you're having a lovely day, you're talking away to your family in the car, whatever, and the children in the back, and you're just tipping along, and next thing, someone just pulls it in front of you. A very dangerous driver pulls it in front of you. Um, what do you become in that situation? Do you continue to be very calm, very happy in that zone, or do you change? Do you become like, I'll get you, beep. Who do you think you are? And if you think about that, you've become that person. Who is that person that you've become? So it's either the fight, or it's someone that wants to fight, get out and pull that fella out of the car and beat him to death in the middle of the street, which is probably more so a murderer or assassin or something like that. Or is it someone that's this protector? You really want to defend your family and protect them. So who is that person you've become? And if you consider that little thing, we become different parts of ourselves each day. So you might become the jolly person because you're going out to people and you're putting on the face. We were saying that earlier. You're going out to a social event and you're not in the great frame of mind. And do I have to do this? And just is actually very human what you're feeling now. But this could be the sad self. This could be the someone that just needs time to themselves self. And then you're going out and right, I have to be this person. I have to just put up, I have to suck it up, I have to get out there, and you become this other character in yourself. And these are all formed. When we talk about back into interjections of self, or conditions of worth, how we are accepted in the world, then we have the configurations of self, the different people we have inside us. So you may have someone that's a very angry child. You may be in an argument with your significant other and just be very irrational and need to be irrational in that moment because it's that child letting out the anger that was never expressed. And so you could be the child self. You can be the adult self in a very, you need a very mature self to be in a situation like in a bank. And you have to present that adult self, right? You have to be very professional here. I have to talk very professionally. I have to sign whatever I need to sign. I have to bring my adult self. I'm not angry. I'm very composed. I'm very intelligent. This kind of stuff. So which self are you on a day-to-day basis? So if you think about it and write them down, it's a very interesting thing. So just from a morning to an evening, just in one day, how many different selves are you? What is it that makes you up? You're not just this one individual person. And I love to think of it as we are all our ages at all times in us because we can access them at any stages. So if I'm feeling sad, something activates, something triggers. This lovely word trigger now that's really out there in the world. But if you just activate it, something's activated in you from an earlier person. So someone takes something from you unfairly or makes you feel very young and you feel very sad from a young place. Well, that's yourself, your younger self, your child self in there that needs something that was never given to them or was also taken off them when they were very young and so on. And if you think of that as you move through the parts of you that didn't get what they needed through very young child, toddler, child, adolescent, young adolescent, early adult, all these people are in you at all times and you can access them and you can become in them. Like you've had a very negative experience from a primary caregiver, male or female, and then we're projecting, when we said the last one we were talking about projections, we project onto them our experience as an adolescent and how helpless that made us feel, and then we become the adolescent and I never want to feel this way again, and that could be something else. So if you really look at yourself, look in and see how many people am I, and it's not about dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. It's not about that. It's about just noticing that we are made up, we are so complex and so amazing that we are made up of all these different people. and personalities who we engage from time to time. And sometimes it can be safe to be a certain person. Sometimes we may need to engage, not just the younger self, but the person who protected us, that we created when we were growing up. So maybe we experienced a lot of trauma, and from that trauma we developed a kind of a warrior. I know one of my selves, one of my personalities, not personalities. that really sounds strange. One of my selves, one of the people that's in me that comes forward a lot, is the rescuer. And I don't think I'd be doing what I do today if that person didn't exist. And that rescuer is in a lot of people. So if you think about your experience growing up, and how, if you felt pain, if you've experienced pain, if you've experienced trauma, how painful it is to you to look outside of yourself and see other people experiencing that pain. And then that's how my rescuer became. It didn't want to see other people experiencing the pain that I felt. So I became that rescuer, and I started get into jobs where I started to help people, look after them. Then didn't seem to be enough, and then I got into ambulance where I needed to rescue, save lives, and so on and so on. And now it's into a different role. The rescue was still there, but he's not as present as he was. I don't have that need as much as I did have, but I am still very aware of him. I have to kind of pull him back a little bit and say, wait, hold on a second. It's not up to me to rescue here. It's up to the person. That's my work. But it's quite interesting when you look at why you have someone. Is there someone in there that's an assassin, someone that wants to hurt or harm someone? Does he come out or she come out when when everything falls apart? What do? Do you crumble? Is it someone that's just this irrational child? It's very interesting to look at why we are who we are on a daily basis. And if you tie all these things together that we were talking about in early videos, the interjected values, the conditions of worth, the projections, and then look at who we are on a daily basis, you start to see how actually complex and unique each person is. Like, no two people have the same characters. But the thing is looking at, well, I do this. For example, and I'm not talking about me here, I'm talking about a larger I, so the community, the person in the community says, I always put other people before myself. And it's exhausting. Why can't I give anything to myself? Why can't I hold back? And that's what we're looking at, the configurations of self. Why am I always giving of myself? Why am I always doing for other people? Why do I feel bad if I say no to somebody? And then we start to understand, well, hold on, which part of me here it needs to be met and needs to be looked at and need to be observed. So it's actually quite interesting. I just thought I'd bring that on and talk about it again. If you have any questions, it can be a little confusing, but honestly, if you just look at why you do the things you do and which part of you is being activated on a daily basis, and one of the very interesting things when I'm talking about the we live every age that we've ever lived in us at any moment. So I am also sitting in front of you as a 48-year-old man, but I'm also a 6-year-old child. I'm also a 12-year-old child. I'm also a 16-year-old. I'm also a young adult. And one thing I'd say to you is just think for a second and answer me this. I know obviously I can't hear you, but that's why it's important for you to answer me. So what age are you now? And then you'll say something like, say I'm 48. What age do you feel? And just really ask yourself, what age? I know I'm 40. I don't feel 48. I feel mid-20s, which feels ridiculous to me as a 48-year-old man, but I feel mid-20s. So there's something very prominent in my mid-20s that still needs addressing. And then if I ask you, as a mid-20-year-old that you feel now, what age do you feel? And maybe as a mid-20-year-old you might feel access that younger self. That child needs to be met. So that's my point. It's just to look at, we are all these selves at all times, and it's just about looking at it. Alright, so I hope that helped. And again, any comments, please like, subscribe, let people know it's on, because I honestly do want the person that needs to see this to see it, and hopefully that'll help them. If it's not this one, if it hasn't helped you, there are other videos that I do hope will help. Thank you so much.